Young Junk!
Welcome to the Micheaux Mission, 2 men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. And as always, I'm joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are kicking off our celebration of Black History Month. And we are kicking it off with Vincent's very intriguing thesis. Is this a black film?
Is this a black film? We're going to explore the parameters of black films.
Yes. And we're going to start with a urban crime thriller from 1990, King of New York.
Is this the film that we've been asked about the most? Is it a black film?
Actually, I don't think it is. It's close.
Okay.
It's close. And the one that I think we've been asked the most about, we are going to close out the month with.
Okay.
But this is close.
This is close.
The King of New York, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, you're right. The movie that stars Christopher Walken, that soul man in Salt. But first, shout out to each and every one of you watching us as we stream live from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace here in Manayunk. Shout out to each and every one of you out there watching us in the chat as we stream to YouTube and to Facebook. Hello, missionaries.
Good evening, one and all.
Before we get into the show, Vincent, I think it is with a heavy heart,
Very heavy,
that we extend our condolences to the family and friends of Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Who passed away recently at the age of 76 years young.
Yeah.
Carl Weathers, famously known as Apollo Creed from the Rocky movie franchise, but more locally or more recently known as Greef Karga from The Mandalorian.
I've been so happy for him.
I know you like
it seemed like we were in the midst of a Carl Weathers resurgence.
Well, here's the thing. You say resurgence, but when I really think about it, Carl Weathers is one of those few stars that never went away. And I don't mean like turned from leading actor into like character actor. He never lost any pop culture resonance.
True.
Because he was Apollo Creed.
Yes.
And then not long after Apollo Creed, he is forever known for the Predator movie.
Yeah. yes.
You know,
indeed.
I mean, like, you know, two men can't clasp their hands together.
Clasp their hands.
Without one of them saying,
I'm Carl Weathers.
Exactly.
We do it. Lynn and
do
I
it here.
Lynn and I do it when we text.
And he beats me to the
That's
punch
right.
every time.
That's how we show that we have come to an agreement about whatever it is that we were talking about, debating, discussing. The official end of the conversation is the posting of that meme of the Arnold Schwarzenegger arm and the Carl Weathers arm clasping hands.
Exactly.
And then I very quickly say, I'm Carl Weathers.
Yep, right. That's because I'm too busy trying to figure out what was his name in the movie.
I know.
But it was Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan. Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Okay, but so for generations, he's Dylan from Predator. But then he's also
Go ahead.
Chubbs Peterson and Happy Gilmore.
About to say Happy Gilmore, who Adam Sandler wrote a very nice little note about it, about how much Carl Weathers meant to him. Yeah.
I mean, and that, you know, is a role that, you know, lived on in memes forever. And then, I mean, it doesn't stop because he actually was Combat Carl in the Toy Story franchise.
That was him.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And he was Wasn't he in Arrested Development?
Yeah.
He had a recurring character like playing himself.
Yeah.
In Arrested Development.
Yeah.
As like a faux washed up actor.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So he's always, and then of course now with Grief Karga in The Mandalorian, he's never left the pop culture zeitgeist.
I know.
Which is why, if you had told me maybe 20, 25 years ago, if he, passed away way too young.
Yeah.
I'd have said, of course, we would have felt it, but I don't think it would have resonated as much as this did. There were people from all stages of life, Gen Zers, who actually, oh my God, Carl Weathers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's fascinating because he has.
And I didn't even mention Action Jackson.
You didn't even mention Action Jackson. Like there are action figures of him as Dylan, as Apollo Creed, and he looks like a young man. But it's been great seeing, and I actually picked up one this weekend from The Mandalorian.
Okay.
Where it's him as an older man. Like how many people have action figures that capture them at different times of their lives?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and he's a guy that aged gracefully.
Oh, absolutely.
Professionally as well as behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So so he'll be missed.
Oh, very much so.
He'll be missed big time. So our condolences to the family and friends of Carl Weathers.
Absolutely.
It's funny, I just realized I hadn't even mentioned Action Jackson, and there maybe 10, 20 years ago, that might have been the third thing you mentioned.
Sure.
Probably people don't even know Action Jackson.
People don't even know Action Jackson. Or that episode of Good Times where he was going to beat up JJ because JJ was painting his wife.
I don't even remember him on Good Times.
I just told you the entire plot. It's the episode of Good Times where he was going to beat up JJ because JJ was painting his wife in a swimsuit. Add the swimsuit that time to the description.
Oh. I heard wrong. I thought I heard you say, I had the swimsuit.
I had the swimsuit. I had the swimsuit that Carl Weathers' wife's character was wearing. Have it like shadow boxed in my nerd room.
Yeah, sure you do.
I don't.
Can we move on?
Absolutely.
Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Before we dig into the show, there is a piece of talking about pop culture.
Man,
there is a historical record of a moment in pop culture time that we want to bring to your attention.
Yes.
Now, to be fair, this was something that was not necessarily brought to our attention because I knew about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We got like an alert.
Right, you need to watch this now.
From our longtime friend of the show, Toya Haynes.
Yeah, what's up, Toya?
The Greatest Night in Pop documentary on Netflix, which details the night back in 1985 when about 40 pop stars at least got together and produced in one night.
Yeah,
We Are the World, the legendary song that was put together in fighting hunger in Ethiopia. This is a documentary where they gather a lot of the stars that are still with us from that day, and they tell their recollections of just the recording.
46.
It was 46.
Is the number that the internet just told me.
Okay. Right. Because there was a large number. Most of them are on the chorus.
Yes.
But then, there were select ones that had like the solos.
Right.
And this was like, this was like a military operation to get all of these stars.
Oh,
in one room at the A&M recording studios in California.
Yeah.
On the night of the American Music Awards.
Right. After the American Music Awards were over.
To record We Are the World. And let me tell you, Toya never steers us wrong. When she tells us we need to watch something, we need to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And when she had told me that we need to watch this, I was actually just about to fire it up. And within a half an hour in, I text Vincent, oh yeah, you got to watch this before Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because this was something, man.
This was this was quite an event that was captured.
Quite an event.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I've heard lots of talking about this. You know, it's a famous night. It was Lionel Richie. It was Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Tina Turner, Diana Ross, Cyndi Lauper,
Huey Lewis, Kim Carnes, Daryl Hall, Steve Perry.
Yeah, I mean,
Dionne Warwick, Al Jarreau,
Bob Dylan.
I mean, it really was.
All produced by Quincy Jones.
Yes.
An amazing night that was put together on the impetus, inspired by Bob Geldof, who had done, I think, like a few months earlier.
Right? Do they know it's Christmas?
Before, do they know it's Christmas? Harry, but do they know it's Christmas was for hunger in Africa as well.
Oh yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And Harry Belafonte saw that, so he was inspired. You know, like, hey, we need to do this. But something that the documentary doesn't pick up on. Harry Belafonte says we need black artists to do a song for these black people.
Right, because if you look at who made up the I don't know, not Band-Aid, but whatever it was called in England for the Do They Know It's Christmas, it's the vast majority are white English singers.
Right. Which, to be fair, that's Bob Geldof. He was that's his crowd.
Yeah.
So he went to who he knew.
Right. And as you said, Harry Belafonte said we have white people singing saving black people. We need to have black people singing to save black people.
Right.
And he went to Lionel Richie's manager.
Yeah. He went to Lionel Richie's manager to see if they could make this happen. Who was a big name, and they made it happen. But it seemed to me from the documentary that it is not too far long into the planning of this.
Yes.
That they come back with, well, we could really make this pop when we get some white artists.
Yes.
And while there's a fair number of black artists involved with this,
yes,
there's a fair number of white artists involved with it as well. And it seemed like the idea of it being black artists shifted really quickly and real easily,
or really definitively.
Yes,
like I got the sense, talking about what is and is not in the documentary, I got the sense that there was a room where it happened, where Harry Belafonte and some of the players went in the room, and the concept was it was going to be black singers, and when they came out of the room, it was what we ended up with.
Right. We're going to get as many black singers as I can get.
Right, and as people who watch documentaries, we often say, it's sometimes more fascinating what's not in the documentary than what is in the documentary, because they say it very matter-of-factly, very kind of let's move on to the next thing. And then it never, but I agree with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that hit me. There's a number of takeaways from
my goodness
from this documentary.
We clearly are going to have to do an episode on this documentary.
Look, Toya has already booked herself for the episode. So before you ask all the rest of you, Toya is got your seat.
Right. She's got the third seat.
She's got the third seat. But there were a couple of takeaways. And one actually left me feeling a little weird.
Okay.
Because I felt bad for the way they used Sheila E.
Of course. Why would you feel weird about that?
No, well, okay, I guess weird's not the the wrong word. Yeah, I felt bad for the way they literally. Lionel Richie goes to Sheila E. Basically trying to get her to come to be part of the event.
Sure,
but it is solely. And Sheila E. is a huge star at this moment. Glamorous Life, her biggest song, is a huge hit.
But she's a new star.
But she's a new
which
star.
I think there's a bit of that dynamic as well in this room. Like, who are the established stars, and then who are the new stars who are just kind of happy to be there.
Well, fair. But to that point, Sheila E. is definitively the newest star.
And
everyone else is established.
Yeah, Sheila E. is the newest star.
I mean, she's brand new.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, and he gasses her up a little bit. Yeah, we want you to come and sing a verse.
Right.
You know,
but and to be clear, when we say sing a verse, part of the politics of the song, I'm assuming everybody in here, everybody listening to this has heard We Are the World. If you haven't heard We Are the World, go listen to We Are the World. And what you see is of the 46 singers, it's less than a dozen who get to sing a line.
It's a little more than a dozen, but you're right. It's not not near as much. It's about a third. It's about a third.
I mean, is their own line?
Well, they actually take a stanza and are singing like moments
words
of the
right.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of an honor
to have that
say you were going to have your own bit
spot exactly.
And they told
Sheila E. that she was going to
not they. Lionel Richie
told
Sheila E.
And Lionel Richie, it should be noted, is one of the orchestrators of this, one of the lead orchestrators.
Right.
It's him
and Michael Jackson
and Quincy Jones.
And then Quincy Jones is producing.
Is the producer.
Yeah.
So he basically tells her that, you know, she's going to be one of the singers. And do you think we can get Prince?
Right.
And this is all because of, if you don't know, Sheila E. started as a protege, more or less, of Prince. And at that moment was still very much, even though she was making a name for herself, very much still defined by her relationship with Prince. It's still as part of his band.
Right.
Her look, they basically dressed the same.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And they were good friends.
They were good friends.
I think at one time they dated, but by this moment they were more, partners.
Sure.
And the documentary, this is one thing I will credit it with, leaves in there when Sheila E. basically notices they're just keeping me around.
Exactly.
Hoping that Prince is going to show up.
Exactly.
Even though she already knows he's not coming.
Exactly. Because Prince had made clear he didn't want to participate like this. Prince said that he would write a song, and he did write a song. Like, if you have the We Are the World single, the B-side is For the Tears in Your Eyes, which he wrote for them. But he said, I don't want to sing. I don't want to do this. And they kept trying to get him in there.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm not going to.
Right.
I'm not going to do it. So I actually thought that was interesting that they did leave that there.
Yeah.
Leave that bit in there.
It was not interesting that they didn't mention the fact that Prince wrote a song for them now. Like, they
that's
made it seem like he was like this prima donna and didn't do anything at all. And this is sort of, like, I guess it's sort of music nerd knowledge, but like, this is very common knowledge that Prince actually wrote a song that's on the B-side.
It's music nerd knowledge, but the thing is that when you're doing a document, and this is my problem, and we've mentioned it before, with especially now the proliferation of documentaries that are more or less being done by the person who's the subject.
Right.
So now they have control of the narrative.
Right.
So as much as you're saying we're giving you a peek into that night, and to be fair, you know, you're getting a fair amount of behind the camera of what happened. Golden. There's still so much that is left out. It's still being very selective.
Right, you're right. And you can tell who's driving the narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I did have a problem with that. What other takeaway?
My main takeaway is that it's a miracle that it happened. Like, it's absolutely just the logistics of it. As someone that, you know, even us, we're just part of things.
Yeah.
And the things that we have to keep scheduled is me and you.
Right.
And just the logistics of that. The fact that they got all of these artists, stars in their own right,
huge stars,
to this location and kept them throughout the night.
Kept them till at least
till 8 in the morning.
8 o'clock the following
morning after they had been out all night at the AMAs. Is a testament to the selflessness of everyone involved. It is a testament to the organizational abilities of Lionel Richie. Because Lionel Richie's really the glue. Like, the thing about Lionel Richie is he kind of had his foot in all of these different camps.
Right.
I was fascinated, speaking of that, I was fascinated by the different power dynamics. Like, you had the Motown crew, you had like the MTV crew.
So the Motown crew, Smokey.
It's Smokey, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, and Lionel Richie. You've got the pop crew, which is Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, you know, Cyndi Lauper, all of that. You've got the old guard, which is like Bob Dylan, Ray Charles, Quincy Jones, Dionne Warwick. And it was fascinating to me watching how that all interacted. You know, one moment in particular, when Michael Jackson is, you know, and I love, between this and This Is It, I love passive aggressive, but kind of aggressive Michael Jackson, where he's making suggestions, but he's making them with an iron fist. And some, even when the suggestions aren't good, like, I love the fact that Smokey Robinson is a voice that can cut through all of it. And he says, you know, I've been knowing Michael Jackson since he was 10 years old. Like, I'm not intimidated by Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
I know him.
Right.
So, like, he's the one that could say stuff to Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder, put a pin in Stevie and these people. So that was fascinating to me. Other thing that's fascinating to me is something that we talked about a few weeks ago when we were talking about Boxing Day and sort of the difference between the caliber of singers.
Oh, yeah.
Pre and post the video age. And we were talking about black singers. But baby, you can tell who was a star before videos and who was a star after videos with the people in this documentary. Steve Perry is not for the play.
Nope.
White teenagers been making bad decisions because of Journey songs since the 70s. Kenny Loggins is not a toy. Kenny Loggins been doing it, so Kenny Loggins gets up there, does his thing. Daryl Hall is so good at what he does, black people don't even think Daryl Hall is white.
That's very true.
But then there are those singers that were there who became MTV famous, and they were not Daryl Hall or Steve Perry or Kenny Loggins.
Are you talking about Hugh?
I'm not talking about anyone in
particular. I know exactly. That's not fair. Because there's only really one person, I think. Maybe two.
Or maybe three. It was that whole little crew. That was a tough crew. But that's my point. That's point number 2. Point number 3, and we've talked about this one before because we actually talked about this when we reviewed Ray. And we talked about Ray standing in there. And at one point, I think like Bruce Springsteen says, you know, seeing Ray Charles walk in is like seeing the Statue of Liberty. Because, you know, Ray Charles is like a star to them. Bruce Springsteen is another one. Like, I'm not a big Bruce Springsteen fan, but he know how to work that gravel.
Yes, he does.
Like, he know how to work that gravel.
And you talk about at the awards, he had literally just got off a tour.
Just got off the plane. But you know what? I'm Bruce Springsteen. I was born to run. So I know what I'm doing.
Yes, he was.
There is a part of this documentary I laughed so hard. Stevie Wonder made a suggestion that they should sing some of the song in Kiswahili.
Yes.
So just let that sit there.
Because you know how Stevie do.
And I knew this because, again, we talked about it. This because, Ray Charles is the one that had to shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
There were two things that came out of that I didn't know, though. Again, this is a room filled with stars because the way it worked logistically, the studio space is small.
Yes.
So there were no assistants in the room. There were no managers in the room. There were no backup singers in the room. These were just the actual stars in the room.
And they were in the room. They weren't like basically allowed.
I think, Randy Jackson, LaToya Jackson were in there. But everyone else, like, you had gotten an invite and you were in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie Wonder makes this suggestion, which, frankly, is a little ridiculous, to start singing in Swahili. Even when, some people point out, Stevie, they don't speak Swahili in Ethiopia. But because it's Stevie Wonder, I don't know if you heard this, he starts singing it in Swahili. At least 10 people
tried to sing it.
Were singing it with him because they were like, it's Stevie Wonder. I guess I got to just do what Stevie Wonder says.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, man, you a star. You don't got to do this. But one man emerged from this documentary who is now my hero and my spirit animal. Waylon Jennings said, when Stevie Wonder suggested the Swahili, he said, well, good old boys don't sing Swahili. Guess I'm going to go ahead and head on out.
And he left.
And I said, well, I'll be damned if Waylon Jennings does not know my spirit. Because oftentimes I'm places and people make ridiculous suggestions or this isn't going the way it's supposed to go. And you told me to come after the awards because we're going to sing for some hungry children. And look, I just ain't really my thing, but I'm a team player and I'm going to come. But now you added something extra. I'm not doing that. In fact, I'm going home.
Here's the thing.
And then Waylon Jennings left.
Here's the thing. In 1985, do you think they even noticed that Waylon Jennings left?
I mean, they invited him.
I don't think they noticed he.
Look,
Willie Nelson was still there.
Look,
that's really who they wanted. Waylon came because Willie was too high to drive.
The funny thing is, I looked up the AMAs that year. He was nominated for something. He was doing.
He's always nominated.
He was big
because the AMAs have to do a country thing.
Right.
They only know 3 country
My
artists.
point is that spoke to me.
Did it?
That it really did.
Oh.
And I feel like that's my thing from now on. Like, you know what? Country boys don't sing in Swahili. I think I'm going to just go ahead and head on out.
Yeah, there's some parts about this we're going to have to save for the episode.
Yeah.
One part, I'm just going to say, Al
Jarreau.
M.F. Jarreau.
Al Jarreau, my other spirit animal.
We will save it for the episode.
He was my other spirit animal.
We will save it for the episode. But there is one thing that I do want to point out.
Okay.
Real quick, because I put an exercise on myself.
Okay.
Because I did feel some type of way. I felt for Harry Belafonte because, I'm a huge Harry Belafonte fan now.
And it is a great moment. They break out into an impromptu rendition of Deo.
Yes.
In honor of him.
Because he is there.
Yeah.
One of the few, well, he is a singer, but, he's not a professional singer at that point.
Sure.
How did Dan Aykroyd get in the room?
Because I'm so glad you asked. Because I went down a bit of a rabbit hole with this thing afterwards. Dan Aykroyd had like a top 10 album of blues songs.
Anyway.
Asked and answered.
Okay, answered.
I mean.
But I started thinking about this.
Okay.
I started thinking about Harry Belafonte's original, idea of black people, black artists, helping black people. So here are the black people that are on We Are the World. They are either have a solo or they're in the chorus.
They're in the room, right?
Okay. Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, Tina Turner, Dionne Warwick, Ray Charles, Diana Ross, James Ingram, Jeffrey Osborne, the Pointer Sisters, Al Jarreau, Stevie Wonder, the Jacksons.
Were they all there?
At least Rebe,
like I said,
LaToya, and Jackie
you mean
were
the
there.
family?
Right. So there was a good like Janet wasn't there, but there was enough of them there's the Jacksons.
Right, the Jackson family, yeah.
Right. Harry Belafonte, Smokey Robinson.
Yes.
All right. Those are the black artists that were there.
Yes.
And we said there was like 46.
Yeah.
So you could have still kept this black artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could have been just that as powerful. Maybe you don't get the pop because you don't get Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen and everything like that. But interesting, in 1985, and looking at the charts from 1984, of who else who could have been on
and was not there.
Was not there. Ray Parker Jr., the number 9 hit in 1984 was Ghostbusters.
Here's the thing, talking about things that they don't talk about. Do you remember at one point they said there was something with the sound? And somebody said, "Oh,
there was a ghost in here."
And then somebody said, "Who you gonna call?" Ghost, and they made a Ghostbusters joke.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it again when they make the joke because I missed it. I wanted to see if they showed Huey Lewis, because
Oh, that's right. Because
Huey Lewis, there was a lawsuit.
That's right.
Between Ray Parker and Huey Lewis
because
over
of the music.
Ghostbusters.
Fair enough.
So that may have been.
So let's scratch off Ray Parker.
Okay.
Because honestly, I only put him down there because of how high on the charts Ghostbusters was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And he's a better singer than half the people in the room. So
Ray Parker.
Yes, Ray Parker was a better singer than half of the people in the room.
Okay. Anyway,
all right.
I don't want to get derailed.
Okay.
Denise Williams.
Yeah.
Let's Hear It for the Boy. Number 13 for the all of 1984.
Absolutely.
Kool and the Gang.
Yeah, I thought about Kool and the Gang. And because I think they were on Do They Know It's Christmas?
Oh, word. Yeah,
so
I think they're one of the few
right. So I was thinking maybe they didn't want to have an
fair
overlap.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Where's Maurice White? Philip Bailey.
Lynn, I said the same. I said, where is Maurice?
Maurice White was
like, how is Philip there? I said the exact same thing. I said Maurice White is the one that does this kind of thing.
Yep. Who else is big in 1980?
You ain't said the big one yet.
In 1984. The Barge.
Yeah.
Actually still had a hit then.
Right. Rhythm of the Night was out.
Uh-huh.
By now.
New Edition. Why don't you have them in the room, at least on the chorus?
They're not really poppy. Look, I'm just...
Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson aren't poppy.
Yeah, but they're white.
Dionne Warwick isn't poppy.
Dionne Warwick is a legend.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Shaka Khan.
There it is. Where the hell is Shaka Khan?
Shaka Khan. Rick James.
Well.
Okay. They may have called him.
Plus, if the plan was to get Prince in there, you can't have the two of them in the same place. All
fair
right.
enough. And who else? Sade.
British. I thought they were trying to keep...
Maybe keep
right
it American.
Now, we're having the exact same conversation me and Wendy had.
Okay. And now, I'm talking about two people in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Luther Vandross and Anita Baker. I don't think they were at odds yet.
Anita Baker was too R&B-ish. Had Luther gone pop... Look, here's the thing. I'm trying to be a little... Harry Belafonte didn't say he wanted pop. He wanted black artists. Yes, but by the time they got to the studio, it had gotten out of Harry Belafonte's hands.
Well,
I think the blackness in the room was very specifically calibrated.
Okay. Well, yes, I think so too.
Yeah, like it was some black people that they wanted in the room, and then it was other black people that was a little bit too black.
Yes.
So.
Well, I'm just saying. Well,
you talking about a whole different song.
Well, I'm curious of what that song would have been like.
Well,
I mean, because We Are the World, like, it's We Are the World, but it's We Are the World. Like, Shaka Khan makes We Are the World. We Are the World.
Right. I was trying to figure out like that can they get past the MTV filter and should have been in the room. And Shaka Khan 100% should have been in there. Denise Williams 100% should have been
Denise
in
Williams
there.
is pop.
Yeah.
She
Well,
should have
that's
been-
my point.
Yeah.
And then, the time they spent talking about Prince not being there, I feel like now we're talking about narrative. They should have been honest and talked about the fact that Madonna wasn't there.
That's true too.
Which, if you read up on it, that's a whole deal.
Right, because they only pay lip service to that because they talked to one person, one of the people that was like putting it together, and they I think they make mention like, so and so wanted Madonna, but certain people wanted Sydney Lauper,
and some apparently you can have both of them in the same room.
Well, they went with Sydney.
Yes,
Cindy.
Yes.
So.
It's a fascinating documentary.
It's a fascinating documentary.
It's already sort of running out. We're like, we could talk about this all night.
Right. And
you said,
one night we will.
Yeah, let's leave this for, like you said,
we'll
the episode.
Leave some on.
There's
meat on the bone.
I mentioned it before. If you're interested in something, I feel like on Reading Rainbow, if this is interesting, you go to your local library. Let's see, because there's a fantastic article that I think was in Rolling Stone. Like I said, we talked about it on the Ray episode. Yeah. Gavin Edwards wrote an article in 2020 in Rolling Stone called "We Are the World: A Minute-by-Minute Breakdown." That is absolutely fascinating.
I remember that. You got to put that in the Facebook.
Right, because that's when we talked about Ray Charles is the one who shut down Stevie Wonder in the Swahili talk.
Yeah.
And they talk about it in the documentary where Ray Charles is one that says, "Ring the bell, Quincy. Come on."
That's right.
Because this is about to go off the rails.
Exactly.
So,
All right.
All right,
ladies and gentlemen. Farrell Blackwell says it feels like we got a double feature review tonight.
I know. It's a great documentary. It's
Trust
really,
me,
really interesting.
this ain't the review.
Yeah.
Just wait. Just wait. We'll probably get to that, I guess, for Black Music Month. It'd be perfect in June. So book yourself in June.
There you go.
Toya. All right?
All right,
ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
Speaking of missives,
let's
get to missives from the missionary.
All right.
So what else is going on, Lynn?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries. Missives from the missionaries.
Missives from the missionaries, ladies and gentlemen. An email, Vincent, from Sarah Elkins.
Hey, Sarah.
The subject line, White Roscoe's.
White Roscoe's.
Hi, I'm listening to your Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins 2008 episode, and I heard y'all being a little surprised during the top 5 Roscoe's about white actor Roscoe Bourne, him of, I think, One Life to Live. It sounded like you were surprised that there were any white Roscoes, thinking they're a new thing. Well, for your information, my father had an uncle Roscoe, and my dad was born about 100 years ago, so great uncle Roscoe would have been born before then. Most of the family was in North Carolina, and I imagine his uncle was too. Additionally, one of my sisters was named Roscoe. Just joking. Additionally, one of my sisters has a boyfriend with an uncle or great uncle Roscoe, also in North Carolina. And my brother's wife's mother had a brother Roscoe, also North Carolina. As far as I know, all these Roscoes are or were white.
Okay.
However,
Okay.
I don't know any Roscoes, black or white, of my generation, born 1966 or younger.
It does seem like a name that's sort of gone away.
Yeah. I enjoyed listening to your show as ever and keep adding selections to my list of movies to watch. Thanks to your reviews, I don't think I'll add Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins, but I appreciate hearing your perspectives. Regards, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
There you go. Old Roscoe's.
Old Roscoe. So you got to go back in time.
Right, go back in time.
Then you've got your white Roscoe's.
It was a little boy in Camille's grade when she was little white kid, and his name was Otis.
What?
His name was Otis. I assume he has some real cool ass parents, so I think it was actually after Otis Redding. But I was like, that's a shame they gave that boy that old ass black man name, that old black man name. I said he's gonna have to put his picture on his resume when he mails it in for the rest of his life.
Well, it depends. What's his last name?
I mean, I'm not going to say the boy's
okay, but
government.
Just
it is a name that does not necessarily say that I am white.
Okay.
Exactly. And his first name is Otis.
It's Otis.
What's his last name? When we say his social security number 2.
What's
his mom's maiden name? What was your dog's first name?
What other password questions can we ask?
Right. Where's the city where you met your wife?
What was your elementary school?
Right, exactly.
Wait a minute. Spell that.
Right.
We got another email.
All right.
A 70s film question from Lisa Alexander.
Hey, what's up, Lisa?
Hello again, gentlemen. I am hoping you can help me choose a 1970s film.
Okay.
In the fall, I'm teaching a class on black women in film, and I can't decide which 70s film to include. I have narrowed it down to Coffee, Foxy Brown, Cleopatra Jones, or Claudine. If you had to choose one, which would you pick? The other films I'm considering are Carmen Jones, Daughters of the Dust, Watermelon Woman, Eve's Bayou,
this is a good syllabus.
Middle of Nowhere.
Okay, all right.
Both versions of The Color Purple.
Okay.
And Pariah.
All right.
Stick a pin in Pariah.
All right, Lisa.
So let's.
Can I sit in?
She has some more, but Coffee, Foxy Brown, Cleopatra Jones, or Claudine. Which movie would you choose teaching a class on black women in film?
Well, based on your syllabus,
Yeah, you're the academic here.
I'm trying to think how I would teach these films. I think the challenge with Claudine, which is clearly the best film in everything that she said, is that I don't know if Claudine, by design, is representative of black women in film in the 70s. Like, it really is its own thing. Whereas,
Well,
Coffee or Cleopatra Jones, you get, the way black women were sort of action heroes and doing stuff, and it has more of the blaxploitation feel.
yeah.
And, I think Coffee is actually a good movie that kind of does a good job of its blaxploitation, but Coffee is actually a character. Coffee has my favorite ending of a blaxploitation film, where she's just walking on the beach and like the weight of everything that she's done throughout the film just sort of falls on her.
Yeah, but there's something about Claudine to me, and I'm like hit or miss on Claudine personally, even though I recognize its place in the culture. The Cleopatra Jones and Coffee, to an extent, and certainly Foxy Brown, they are all just like a lot of the blaxploitation movies of that era. They are all like these over the top, like almost like superhero films.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Claudine, I think, is actually about black women, in film, and also giving you a glimpse into black women in the 70s.
Right. But if I'm hearing her right, this isn't about black women in the 70s.
It's about black women in film.
In the films in the 70s. So again, if you got to have something that's representative. Like, I think you're making the argument that is not even an argument. Like, hopefully no one is going to argue with you about this, that Claudine is the best movie of them.
Mm-hmm.
But are we looking for the best movie, or are we looking for something that's representative of black women in the movies in the 70s? Because it's not representative.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, that was the whole thing. That they said it was counter-programming.
Yeah, it was counter-programming to the superhero antics of those action films. But in the other counter-programming to those films such as like the Sidney Poitier, Bill Cosby movies, black women were basically just someone in the movie. Yeah.
Look, Claudine is the best film of them. And when you talk about this sort of, almost naturalistic depiction of black womanhood in the 70s, besides Claudine, like off the top of my head, like the best representation of black, Black Girl.
I was thinking about Black Girl.
Like, is there another film
I just don't think Black Girl
where black women are seen as actual human beings in the 70s?
I'm sure there are a few that we're just not thinking of right now.
I mean, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, so you're saying Coffee.
I would go with Coffee, but again, I am assuming that those other films that she named are also on the syllabus.
I don't know. I think I would lean towards
Claudine.
All
right.
On a separate note, Lisa continues.
Okay.
I took a short hiatus from listening to the Micheaux Mission episodes and checked out Spock Adjacent. Oh, remember that?
Those many years ago.
Our attempt at doing 2 podcasts. One about our deep love of Star Trek that everybody seemed to really love, Vincent.
Remember what I just said about wrangling the 46?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Go ahead. Continue the letter,
Couldn't wrangle
please.
one.
Yeah,
anyway.
Look.
I howled with laughter as Len's mind was blown over the revelation about Ash and the truth about Lorca. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to remember what it was that I was blown away by.
I don't remember.
Ash, Vox, and the truth about Lorca. Oh, in Discovery.
Okay.
In the truth, because Lorca
was from the Mirror.
From Mirror,
and I called it.
You called it. Yeah. I remember that. Right. You made some calls about the direction Discovery will go in. I guess if I can continue.
Reading is fundamental. It's like they tell you to read all the instructions of a test before you take the test.
See, we read these in real time, ladies and gentlemen.
We read them in real time.
You made some good calls about the direction Discovery would go in season 3. Are there any plans to cover the rest of Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds, or Lower Decks? I trust that you will cover the Section 31 film because Michelle Yeoh as Georgiou is a goddess. It would be interesting to hear whether you would update your ultimate Trek crew choices with the new characters. I think Strange New Worlds Uhura would work well, and Georgiou and Mariner would make good additions to the super secret away team. I'd appreciate your help, Lisa Alexander. Well, Lisa, let me ask Vincent. Hey, Vincent. Are there any plans for us to return to Spock Adjacent?
Hey, man, hope springs eternal. Hope springs eternal.
Are you still kicking that same old BS?
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. And once again, we're feeling it ain't me.
Come on. Hey, let's keep it moving.
No. Now let's keep it moving.
Keep the show moving.
Now you're in a rush.
Yeah, we got to keep it moving. Keep this thing in a steady clip.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, we got one more email that we'll read tonight. It's in you. This is from Michael Lockett.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
No. I wish I could say yeah. That's the subject.
Okay. All right.
Brethren, what's up?
Hey.
First, thanks for the shout outs and extra funniness in responding to my email. I just listened to and watched both Scream Blackula Scream and Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins.
Okay.
All I can say is wasted potential.
Yeah.
For Scream Blackula Scream, all the plot points were there to make a fun sequel that could have given us a deeper lore on the prince and voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
They found a way to botch everything and waste William Marshall's talent. The only saving grace was we got Pam Grier. Thank you, Jesus.
Mm-hmm. All the time.
Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins was similar. It had so much potential in so many ways. Cast, the general plot. I have to agree with both of you. I didn't like it because it was too predictable with too many holes, and it may just be Martin Lawrence's best starring vehicle. In many ways, it feels like a film that had a lot of people sign on because they have a mortgage payment, not because it's a vehicle for their career.
Okay.
Like Cats. Keep preaching, missionaries, Michael Lockett.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Of course, I also have to take the opportunity to say that if you thought Scream Blackula Scream was a wasted opportunity, perhaps you should read David Walker's Blackula graphic novel, which is, no, not David Walker, Rodney Barnes.
Rodney Barnes, right.
Which is excellent.
Very true. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
So we've got more emails, but we're running low on time, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to move on. Thank you for each and every one of you that sends your emails.
Thank you very much.
If you want to hear your email being read here on the air, please feel free. Send us one and we'll read it. At micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com.
All right.
All right, Vincent.
All right.
It is now time
Time.
for the top five.
Top five.
Who's your top five? My top five is. My top five is. My top five is. My top five is. My top five is.
Top five, ladies and gentlemen, where I give Vincent a list and he gives me and you his scintillating thoughts on them.
Scintillating.
In theme, Vincent, we are reviewing 1990's King of New York.
Yes, we are.
Starring Christopher Walken.
Yes, it does.
As some would say, maybe a problematic king, quote unquote.
Maybe.
Of New York.
Yes.
We shall see when we get to the review.
Mm-hmm.
So for the top five, these are the top five other dubious kings.
Dubious kings.
All right.
All right.
Number five.
Number five.
From 1975.
Okay.
The Man Who Would Be King. Are you
Okay.
familiar with this film?
I've heard of it, but I didn't.
Oh, you never saw it?
Yeah, I never saw it.
It's an adventure film based on the novella of the same name by Kipling.
Yeah, Rudyard
Kipling.
Mm-hmm.
And adapted by the noted director John Huston, stars Sean Connery and Michael Caine.
Okay.
The film follows two rogue ex-soldiers, Connery and Caine, former non-commissioned officers in the British Army, who set off from late 19th century British India
Okay.
in search of adventure and end up in far away Kafiristan, where one is taken for a god and made their king.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
That's Kipling.
That's Kipling.
This sounds like Kipling.
That's
Yeah.
Kipling.
Uh-huh.
Never found a story where he couldn't take a white man
Look.
and make him a king over some brown folk.
Pretty sure Rudyard Kipling is the one who came up with the concept of the white man's burden. That white people should rule the earth and take care of the earth by ruling the earth because they're better and smarter than these brown savages. So that does sound right.
It sounds on point.
Sounds like
on brand.
It's a good movie, though. It sounds like a good movie.
I've seen it a couple of times. It's not as fun as you want it to be.
Right.
But it is interesting to see Connery and Kane. They actually have a fairly good rapport.
Oh, I'm sure they
But
do.
it's problematic as hell.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just by nature of the story.
This is like 1970 is probably a good time going out drinking with them.
Right.
But you should be ready to fight.
You want to see a fun Sean Connery movie that a lot of people I think slip on is Michael Christian, right? The Jurassic Park guy.
Crichton.
Crichton.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Crichton, The Great Train Robbery with Sean Connery and my man Donald Sutherland.
Oh, that does sound fun.
Oh, it is so much fun.
Okay.
It is so much fun.
On the list. All right. That does sound like a dubious king, though.
Yes, it is. Number four. In our
4.
listing of the top 5 dubious kings.
Mm-hmm.
This is from 1989. Mm-hmm. It's a film, Farewell to the King.
Okay.
An action-adventure drama written and directed by John Milius that stars Nick Nolte. Hiding in the wilds of Borneo. Leroyd, a.k.a. Nick Nolte,
Okay.
is adopted by a head-hunting tribe of Dayaks
Oh, for God's sake.
who consider him divine because of his blue
yes,
eyes.
Yes. Obviously, he's a god because of the blue eyes. Yeah.
Before long, Leroyd is the reigning king of the Dayaks.
Sure.
When British soldiers approach him to rejoin the war against the Japanese, Leroyd resists. But when the invaders threaten his own tribe, Leroyd decides to fight for their rights and to protect their independence.
Well, God bless him.
As the king of the Dayaks
King of the Dayaks.
in
So
Farewell to the King.
farewell to the king. All right. Also dubious.
Very,
Very dubious.
very dubious.
All right.
That almost has Kipling written all over
I was
it,
about to say.
yet it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3
Number 3.
in our list of dubious kings.
Dubious kings.
Now, this movie does not feature a king in the title,
Okay.
yet this person definitively saw themselves as a king.
Okay.
1932's pre-code American action adventure. Interesting that they're all American action adventures.
Yes.
Tarzan the Ape Man.
Tarzan the Ape Man.
Now, for those who don't know,
Yeah.
this film is loosely based on Edgar Rice Burroughs'
That's right.
1912 novel Tarzan of the Apes. Mm-hmm. James Parker and Harry Holt traveled to Africa on a quest for the legendary elephant burial grounds and their ivory. Mm-hmm. They are joined by Parker's daughter, Jane. Holt is attracted to Jane and tries somewhat ineffectively to protect her from the jungle's dangers. The expedition encounters an attack from both hippopotamus and crocodiles. Mm-hmm. When the mysterious Tarzan wards off the attack, but abducts Jane.
Yeah.
It is terrifying to Jane at first, but a relationship develops, and she finds herself, and I quote, happy
Well, he introduced
with Tarzan.
some jungle love. O-E-O-E-O.
O-E-O-E-O. A tribe of aggressive dwarves
Here we go.
captures the
Here we go.
expedition,
Here we go.
and Jane sends Tarzan's chimpanzee Cheetah to ferry back Tarzan to the rescue. Famously, in this film, the tribe of African dwarves portrayed in the film, made to look like pygmies,
Yeah.
was actually a cast of several white midgets
Yeah.
wearing blackface.
Yeah. And what year did you say this was?
1932.
So
This was the first Johnny Weissmuller.
So Johnny Weissmuller is actually Tarzan in this.
This is his first one.
Okay. All right.
The first of many.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There is no more dubious king
Yeah.
than Tarzan, who saw himself as the king of the jungle.
Yeah. King of the
Well,
jungle.
he would say Lord of the jungle.
Lord of the jungle. Yeah.
It's just another way of saying king.
Yeah. 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 Those are tough movies.
Those do not wear well.
Those are
Am
tough
I
movies.
correct? And I'm not sure if it was Tarzan movies, but I'm pretty sure it was movies of this time. That there are actually some movies where you'll see the actors supposedly in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're probably on a stage or
Yeah.
something like that. And they've got like, you know, how they've got like it actually it's like they're standing in front of the projected film of Africa. And I think it is in at least one or two of these Tarzan movies where you see actually African people being projected on the screen as if they're in Africa.
Yeah.
And the women don't have any tops on.
No. Yeah. 100%.
But it's not considered nudity.
Right.
Because it's black women.
National Geographic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be, you know, in full disclosure, what makes a Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan movies tough for me is you said this is 32.
Pre-code.
By the time you get to like 1940,
Yeah. Because he's with it for a minute.
they're not bad movies. Like they're pretty entertaining. Like they move
For what they are.
For what they are, they move at a pretty steady clip. Like once they figure out the formula, what makes them tough is like, God damn, this is actually kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
So you know,
But they are
no, absolutely.
I mean, there
They're
are
super racist.
because you joke about me and my old timey movies.
Yeah.
And there are some. To be fair, there are a lot of those movies that I like where you can kind of lose yourself in the world.
Yeah.
Because you don't see us.
Right. Exactly.
But not Tarzan.
Not the Tarzan movies.
Not the Tarzan
Not
movies.
the Tarzan movies. So yes, he's the quite dubious kid.
All right.
All right.
Continuing on. The number 2 dubious king
Number 2 dubious king.
from 1955.
Okay.
A historical adventure film.
Okay.
That presents the actor Fess Parker in the role that made him famous. It's Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier.
Yeah, King of the Wild Frontier.
Davy Crockett engages in thrilling exploits and valiantly battles at the Alamo. Blending fact, fiction, and folklore, the movie captures the spirit of a bygone era and the essence of the legendary figure with wit and bravery inspired by a nation.
Yeah.
With its catchy theme song,
Davy Crockett,
King of the Wild Frontier. Engaging storytelling and exciting action sequences, it became a cultural touchstone, sparking a Crockett mania and introducing the widely popular coonskin cap to children everywhere.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier.
King of the Wild Frontier.
For killing Indians.
Another series, because did it become a television series?
Yes.
That's what I always think about.
It became a series.
It's another thing. Real terrible. But part of the reason it's real terrible is it's kind of entertaining.
I never seen it.
You know, I
tried watching the movie and I couldn't get through it.
You know, I always talk about that sweet spot. Like we're old enough that we remember the transition into cable television, but there just wasn't enough product to put on television. So you had that wonderful sweet spot in like the early to mid 80s where television stations were just putting stuff on.
Yeah.
And one of the local stations in Baltimore used to play Davy Crockett.
Yeah.
So I watched more Davy Crockett than you think I would have.
Wow.
Yeah.
I stayed away.
Yeah.
So, with Davy Crockett and Tarzan.
I'm about to say, who's the most dubious king?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Vince. Because I indeed saved the best for last.
Saved the best for last.
From 2014.
From 2014?
Yes.
This is fairly recent. King. Who's this dubious king?
Well, it's not just one king.
Oh, it's a bunch of kings.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Because it is director Ridley Scott's Exodus, Gods and Kings,
I remember
a
that.
biblical epic that stars Christian Bale
Yes, that's right.
as Moses.
Yeah.
Among the other stars, Joel Edgerton, John Turturro, Aaron Paul, Ben Mendelsohn, Sigourney Weaver, and Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, Big Kingsley.
If you scroll through the IMDb full cast list, you'll see that there are lots of Black and Middle Eastern actors playing uncredited roles.
And extras, that's right.
Like Moses's general,
Yeah.
or fan handler, or Egyptian civilian lower class.
Yeah.
But all of the important
All the
characters
important characters.
are played by white actors.
Sure.
A few supporting roles are played by Middle Eastern or mixed
Sure.
ethnicity actors, and the minor uncredited roles are played by a mixture of Middle Eastern, Blacks, and Latinos.
You know how terrible this movie was? Everyone involved pretended that it didn't happen 6 months after it came out. I had completely forgotten about it until you said it just now.
They tried to forget about it happening. You're talking about 6 months after it came out, before it came out.
Yeah.
Because the backwatch,
Yeah.
because when the first trailer hit,
Yeah.
people were like, oh no, this is some bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, I like Christian Bale.
Yeah, I don't like him that much.
I don't like him that much. I mean, like, you know.
Look, y'all had y'all shot for this type of thing with the 10 Commandments.
Exactly. You had Charlton Heston.
That's right. And remember when they came in, they pointed all the black people and said, "Look, it's the Nubians." But yeah, we're not doing this.
I mean, dog. Even the animated movie, The Prince of Egypt,
it was a little swarthy.
at least
It was a little swarthy.
tried to course correct.
Right. The Prince of Egypt cartoons, if they tried to get on a plane, the TSA would say, "Oh, we've chosen you for a random search."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You.
Right.
The collective you.
Right, the collective you. All of y'all look like you got a good recipe for hummus.
Yeah. Can you step to the side?
Right.
Remove your belts.
Right. Exactly.
But not Exodus Gods and Kings.
Not Exodus Gods and Kings. Well, those are indeed some dubious
They are
kings.
some dubious.
Those are
as
some
hell
dubious kings.
Right?
I hope the King of New York isn't quite this dubious.
We shall see.
We shall see.
But before we get there,
Okay.
it is time to play the Game of Kings.
The Game of Kings that these kings could not have played.
No.
All of these kings were too dubious to play this.
Yes. Peasants.
D'Urville Martin would strike them down.
Bring on 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin. Huzzah.
Huzzah.
With just a sensitive touch and a sensitive sound.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin, ladies and gentlemen, where Vincent has 6 movies or less to connect that king of 70s cinema.
That's right.
D'Urville Martin.
D'Urville Martin.
To actors of my choice, keeping it in theme.
Oh, Lord, is it more kings?
No.
Okay.
But we are reviewing King of New York, which stars Christopher Walken tonight.
Yes.
So Vincent, in 6 films or less, connect D'Urville Martin to Christopher Plummer.
Oh, a Christopher. Gotcha. All right. Well, see, the thing about Christopher, you can actually do Christopher Plummer really quickly.
You can.
Because he's in both Inside Man and Malcolm X.
Is he in Malcolm X?
Yeah, remember, he's the priest that he argues with in jail.
That's right.
But let me see if I got enough to get to him. Okay, so D'Urville Martin is in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier. That's one. Sidney Poitier is in The Defiant Ones with Tony Curtis.
Oh, you remembered. Very good.
Two. Well, Tony Curtis is never the problem. The problem is when Tony Curtis is in Some Like It Hot with Jack Lemmon.
Okay. Is that your 3?
That's 3.
Okay.
Jack Lemmon is in Grumpy Old Men with Anne Margaret.
That's 4.
Anne Margaret is in. Oh, I'm going to run out because I would need 7. I was going to say Anne Margaret is in Bye Bye Birdie with Dick Van Dyke, who's in with Julie Andrews, but that's 6.
That's 6.
If I had one more, I could get to Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
But I don't have enough, so I'll just say that that he's in 5 on the Black Hand Side with Dick Anthony Williams, who's in Mo Better Blues with you mean hell? Let's just say Giancarlo Esposito.
Okay.
And then Giancarlo Esposito is in Malcolm X with Christopher Plummer.
Christopher Plummer. Very good.
Because remember, Giancarlo Esposito plays a dude who gives one of Malcolm X's daughters her ball back at the end where he's
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there you go.
Forgot about that.
That's Christopher Plummer.
Very good.
I bet if I could probably slice out somebody and get to Sound of Music. Because it's so weird to me he's in Sound of Music. Because he looks so eerie and evil.
And he actually is bored.
In Sound of Music?
He is absolutely bored in that movie. He said he was so ready to be done.
Yeah.
All right. Very good, Vincent.
All right.
All right. Next. In 6 films or less.
6 films or less.
Connect D'Urville Martin
to
Christopher Lambert.
Christopher Lambert. See, think about him. I only know of 2 movies he was in.
He was in more than 2.
I mean, I'm sure he was in more than 2, but I only know of them 2. One of them I'm probably going to use, but let's see, because we were just talking about
You
Tarzan.
know 3. If you know 1, you know 3. You know
Right. Who else is in Greystoke with him? This might be a dead end because I feel like it's all British people.
Yeah.
Who else is in Greystoke with him?
Let me go Greystoke. Speaking of
Greystoke,
dubious
right?
Kings.
Speaking of Tarzan,
none of these names are going to help you. Well, maybe one. Andie MacDowell. She plays Jane.
Andie MacDowell does play Jane. What is Andie MacDowell in?
Well, you know her most famous movie.
Is what?
You don't know it?
I don't. I mean, I might if you. All right. Well, I'll just go to Highlander.
No, I'll tell you her most famous movie.
What?
It may help. I mean,
What?
So you can go to a different place. Groundhog Day.
Oh, she is in Groundhog Day. Well, that'll be fun because that way I'll get to use penitentiary. So, D'Urville Martin is in Dolomite with Rudy Ray Moore. Rudy Ray Moore is in Penitentiary 2 with Ernie Hudson.
Okay.
Ernie Hudson is in Ghostbusters with Bill Murray. Bill Murray is in Groundhog's Day with
Andie MacDowell.
And Andie MacDowell is in Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan.
Greystoke.
With Christopher Lambert. There you go.
That film, Greystoke.
Yeah.
Got me. Came out in 1984.
Yeah.
The Legend of Tarzan.
Yeah.
I remember when that movie came out. I remember seeing the commercials.
Yes.
Man, I wanted to see some Tarzan.
Yeah.
I wanted to see.
Did you see it?
I did.
You don't like it?
No.
Why not?
It's slow.
It is slow.
It's too slow.
It is slow, but you know what I love about it. Speaking of the Dubious Kings, I love that this was the first Tarzan movie where they said, you know what? We're just going to leave black people out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think I didn't have the wherewithal to realize it when I was seeing it. I just knew that it was.
And I just love the fact that they brought him back, and they was like, yeah, his feral ass, we can't do nothing with
Wasn't
him.
he like jumping all over the bridge?
And they took his ass back to the jungle.
Yep.
And then the movie went off.
Yep. They said, no, go get that banana.
And he was trying to have monkey sex with Andy McDowell.
He was.
He was like, ooh, ooh, ah. Like, it was like, what is happening right there? Yeah. I kind of liked it. It is slow.
When was the last time you seen it?
I probably haven't seen it in like 10 years, 10, maybe 15 years.
Wow, that's a lot more recent.
It's a lot more recent than,
Yeah, because I probably haven't seen it since it probably came up on cable one day. And I was like, oh, Grace, then. No.
Yeah. But probably the greatest Christopher Lambert film is, of course, Highlander. Which you would go to Clancy Brown, who's in Shawshank Redemption with Morgan Freeman, who's in Glory with Denzel Washington, who's in Mo Better Blues with Dick Anthony Williams, who's in Following the Black Hands Out
with Derville Martin. Yes.
Because you got to pay respect to Highlander.
Because there can only be one.
There can be only one.
Okay. I don't like Highlander.
You don't like Highlander? Mm-mm. Hey, man, here's the thing about Highlander that nobody actually wants to say out loud. Highlander is not a good movie.
It's not a good movie.
But I love Highlander. Highlander is so over the top and so 80s and so sort of bizarre. Like this kind of bizarre, and it was like this bizarre run. It was my favorite kind of movie. We talk about this. These movies that they just sort of made and no one had any intentions whatsoever for there to be anything else to this movie but this movie.
Yes.
It has a beginning, a middle, and the end. It's weird as shit. It doesn't make sense.
Sean Connery collects a check. And I don't know if he had been drinking, snorting, or smoking, but he's having way more fun than the material actually reflects. Christopher Lambert has the charisma of noodles that somebody left on the counter overnight. I thought you were going to put the spaghetti up. I thought you were going to put it up. And it just sits on the counter all night. That's the reason why you remember Clancy Brown.
His accent, what kind of accent is that he has?
Christopher Lambert?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can't understand what he's saying.
No. He's horrible.
The rules of Highlander don't really make any sense.
It's not a good movie.
But it's Highlander.
Okay.
And somehow it turned into a thing. Did you watch the TV show?
No. No, I was not going to fall for that.
Duncan MacLeod was was he Duncan or was he Connor? Because I think he was Connor. No, Duncan was in the movie. Connor MacLeod was on the show. And Connor MacLeod had a ponytail and trained with the Japanese in the way of the samurai.
He trained with the who?
The Japanese. In the ways of the samurai. Because it was 1991.
Next to Tom Cruise.
And he would do, I believe it's pronounced karate. He would do karate because he had trained with the samurai with a sword.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
And then he'd meet an immortal every week and cut his head off.
All right. So that is 6 Degrees of Derville Martin.
Born to be kings, we're the princes of the universe.
And now it's time for us to get into our review of King of New York. You're insane.
In the ways of the samurai. Casual racism was so casual in the 90s. It just sort of wore khakis. Sat around.
Racism just sat around in khakis.
It was so casual. The racism was so casual.
Khakis and some Stan Smiths.
He trained in the way of the samurai.
In his khakis.
And he would do like samurai exercises. It was very exotic.
Are we ready, Dylan? Thank you. King of New York, a 1990 compelling, thrilling, gritty urban drama starring Christopher Walken, Wesley Snipes, Larry Fishburne, David Caruso, Giancarlo Esposito, Victor Argo, Joe Delia, Steve Buscemi.
Blinking, you miss him.
A psychotic drug lord leaves prison bent on sharing his profits with the poor, but finds that the streets are tougher than when he left. And there is no way of washing the blood from his dirty money. This is one of the most asked films on the Micheaux mission because there are quite a few of you missionaries out there who want us to answer the question that I posed to Vincent. Is King of New York a black film?
Is King of New York a black film? That is, of course, one of two questions. It's the question that we usually answer, which is whether or not we would recommend this film.
Right.
So, you go and do the business. And then, King of New York is a film that is a cult classic among certain audiences. As you said, Christopher Walken plays this drug lord who gets out of prison at the beginning of the film and then goes through the rest of the film trying to make money and sponsor a hospital and so on and so forth. And I think you understand why this film left a mark when it came out in 1990 and has come out since then. As you mentioned, it is it's got good bones, or rather, it has bones that I like anyway. It's written by Nicholas St. John, directed by Abel Ferrara. And when you look at the films that these two have worked on together, besides this, they worked on two films that I'm very fond of, The Bad Lieutenant, and something that we talked about, and I think I conflated the two. They actually worked on a film called Body Snatchers, which was a remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I said it was with Nicole Kidman, but Nicole Kidman was actually in the version called The Invasion.
Okay.
So Body Snatchers came out in 93. The Invasion came out in like 2008, 2009, which, very quick sidebar, I think Invasion of the Body Snatchers has beat I Am Legend, where it is a film that has been made 4 times, and all 4 versions are good. So I like them. I like them as a team. And I think Abel Ferrara's direction is very confident. Like, very confident. I think he kind of establishes these places very much 1990 New York. This sort of, people describe it as a neo-noir. A lot of scenes shot at night. A lot of scenes
in the rain.
Fairly quick scenes too. Like he gets in, gets out. Gets in, gets out. I think part of his confidence, frankly, you see it with how sparse the script is.
Yeah.
I was looking at it, and I when the film comes on, for almost 10 minutes, there's very little dialogue. There's one of the first rival that Christopher Walken's character Frank White's gang kills speaks some Spanish to some women in the apartment that he's in. And even when Frank White gets out of prison and the women in the car talk to him, he answers questions yes or no. And so that there isn't that. Christopher Walken himself doesn't get a substantial line of dialogue.
Throughout most
for
of the movie.
15 minutes. And then when he does talk, as you said, for most of the movie, he doesn't talk that much. The story itself is one that even in 1990, you knew this story. You know, the rival drug lords, or rather rival criminals, and some overzealous police, and there are no real surprises in the film at all. But the reason that people talk about whether or not, or ask whether or not this is a black film, really does speak to the performances. Because the performances in this film, the caliber of actors in this film really carry the load for character itself. Like you get the sense that these characters, frankly, are written better than they are because of the caliber of actor. Wesley Snipes plays an overzealous detective as part of this detective crew that has been charged with bringing down Frank White. David Caruso, in a role that I think got him on a lot of people's radar, also plays one of these detectives. Giancarlo Esposito doesn't have, frankly, any real dialogue where you can hear him.
Yeah, not
like
really.
You see him talking, but he has great presence, even as a young man. Roger Gouverneur Smith shows up for one scene as a politician, but you can tell he's a politician that's a little dubious. You know him immediately. Teresa Randall is mysterious and sultry and sexy. Doesn't say much.
I don't think she says anything.
But she doesn't have to. She's Teresa Randall.
Right.
I don't know how much they paid Lawrence, or as they say, Larry in here, because he hasn't changed his name, Larry Fishburne, for this role. But he should give them the money back, because there is not one actor in this film who's having as much fun
That's Larry Fishburne.
as Larry Fishburne,
That's very true.
as Frank's hopped up
Jumpin' Jimmy.
Yeah, his main lieutenant. And then you have Christopher Walken, who, you know, it's interesting. You know, we think about Christopher Walken now, and he's almost become like a caricature. You know, people, Christopher Walken and the voice, and you know, everyone does Christopher Walken imitation. Certainly, he's gotten a little older. But young Christopher Walken has this wonderful presence that you buy him. You know, I think we were talking about Dubious Kings before the review, and I think, you know, one of these film tropes that you see more often than you should is the cool white guy.
Yeah.
And part of the way that the project lets the audience know that he's the cool white guy is because he has all these black subordinates.
Yes.
And 9.5 times out of 10, it comes off very false. Like, you can tell this is just the movie saying, oh, well, this is a cool white guy, and now we got these black actors around him. Christopher Walken, you believe this Frank White can actually be in charge of a gang with Lawrence Fishburne, Giancarlo Esposito, Steve Buscemi, these people who would go on not that long after this film to portray crime lords in their own right. But you believe this character who, like I said, does not have a lot of dialogue. So that I don't think this film ages as well as some of its contemporaries. Like, this comes out the same year as Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs comes out 3 years after this, which, when you think about this kind of low rent portrayal of low rent criminals, those are really the gold standard. And you understand why. This film is not as good as either of those films. But this is also a film that was made before those films, which I think lends it an air of being unique that, frankly, the vast majority of the films that come out after Goodfellas, after Reservoir Dogs, don't have, because everything that comes out after those films
It's derivative of those
is basically
two
responding to that. So for that, I still land on liking this movie. Now, as a black movie, I have to say, as politely as I can, I wonder how recently someone watched this film,
Those people who are calling for
who
it.
argue for this being a black film. Because while certainly the black performances are good in this film,
And the black actors outnumber the white.
and the black actors outnumber the white actors, this is Christopher Walken's film.
Yeah.
From the beginning through the middle and in the end.
Yeah.
So that
And his quote unquote antagonist.
is white.
white.
Who, I have to say, of all those actors that I just pointed out, Victor Argo, I thought was really good in here too. And I had forgotten how good he was, because I think, and now I'll defend people who call this a black film, I think you leave the film and you think about those kind of firecrackery performances. And Victor Argo's is more of a slow burn.
It's definitely, yeah.
More of a slow burn, but I think it is one that today kind of stayed with me more than so enjoyed this film. Always enjoyed this film. Have to say, I didn't enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed it over the past over the years. But no, this isn't a black film.
Definitely saw this movie in a theater. And I remember, just like everyone else, like, oh, what am I watching? Right? It blew my mind. And loved it. Loving what I'm seeing on the screen. In my mind, oh, this is kind of like a dope story. This guy's getting out of prison and he wants to change, but he's got to like more or less do one more job so that he can then change, So I'm like, I've seen this story before. But to your point, this is not a film that ages well, I don't think. And the last few times that I remember watching the movie, I remember not finishing it. And primarily because it's a little cringy. And what is making me cringe is, and it really hit home today watching this, it's interesting that people want to herald this as a black film because they are, because it is steeped in that world in 1990 that, if you were of a certain age, you were finding out about that life, that drug life, that drug dealer life, flashy cars, clothes, dope rope chains and stuff like that, girls all over the place. And this film famously has a soundtrack by one of the pioneers of Philly hip hop.
Absolutely.
Schoolie D.
Yeah.
And it's his biggest hits.
Yeah.
And they still pop off the screen when you hear them. So it has a lot of hip hop credit to it. But watching this film today, there is not one person in this film that has any redeeming qualities.
Okay.
Every one of the black characters in this film are on the side of crime, except for Wesley Snipes' cop Tommy,
Yeah.
who goes over the top,
Yeah.
as cops are wont to do.
Yeah.
With the rest of his cop guys. So he doesn't have any redeeming qualities either, unless you want to count that he's shown as having, being a seemingly loving father and wife and husband.
Yeah.
But nobody has any type of redeeming qualities. And you talk about the dialogue being so sparse. I think the dialogue is too sparse because it is so sparse that you are told what is happening instead of like feeling it. So Frank White, a name that lives on in hip hop. Talk about hip hop is one of the aliases that Biggie Smalls would anoint himself with. Frank White gets out of prison and he wants to go straight. Yet he's out of prison 5 minutes and he's shooting people. He's killing.
I don't know if he wants to go straight.
He said he wants to do good.
Right, he wants to do good.
He wants to do good.
Yeah.
And he pays lip service in the middle of the film, like, I just need 1 year. So he's kind of like setting it up that he kind of like wants to if not go straight, at least get out of this life.
Right.
I'm gonna get into this life what I need. Give me 1 good year, and then so that I can then do good.
Right.
But meanwhile, he's orchestrating murders, hits. Got his finger in the drug trade, in the skin trade, like all over.
Hey man, I don't know if you've ever made an omelet, but
Yeah, I hear you. I know. But with all, like, we're told that.
Yeah.
More than shown it. Right?
Absolutely.
And we're told that he wants to, do better and give to this hospital. Yet he doesn't. At no time do you see him have any type of conflict with what he says he wants to do versus who he quite obviously is, right? And without that conflict, I myself found myself not caring about what he's doing at all. I'm sitting around here looking at Giancarlo Esposito, who we're introducing the movie as one of his hitmen, and then for the rest of the movie, he's walking around like he's an accountant,
right,
with like a suit,
right. He's actually keeping the books in one scene, in the middle of an orgy,
right.
Wow, he's got a great work ethic.
But then at the end, he's back to being one of the hitmen. So I'm like, which way is it going? And the film doesn't care because we're never given his name, even though I think he has maybe 1 or 2 lines.
Sure.
The only person who has a gang that has any lines, Lawrence Fishburne or Larry Fishburne, like you said, having the oodles of fun, playing a psychotic nut.
Yes, he is.
Nut job. Okay, so he can play a psychotic nut job. Good on you. And then he's got a couple of other nut jobs that are running around with him, like laughing at his stupid jokes. But none of these characters, you talked about David Caruso and Wesley Snipes, they're partners as detectives who by any means necessary want to bring down Frank White, so much so that they actually pull a hit on Frank White on his boards, which starts up the big, end scene, one long end scene. They don't have any redeeming qualities. Nobody has any redeeming qualities, so therefore I don't care about anyone in this freaking movie. And I'm looking at the bare bones script. I'm looking at the very rudimentary plot that's taking us from point A to point B. We know exactly where we're going along every step of the way. We can tell that guy's about to die. He's about to die. He's about to die. And it just really left me numb. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for a dumb action movie, right? I'm even can just sit down, take off my brain for a stupid, drug thriller, urban thriller as they promote this. But when you have this cast, albeit Wesley Snipes, Larry Fishburne, Giancarlo Esposito, they aren't the men that we would know them to be yet. And nor are they given really the space to present even a little bit of them.
No.
Of that in this film. But when you have that type of cast, you're expecting them to do, the director and the writer, to do something with them. Okay, and if you're not going to do anything with the ephemera that's around Frank White, then let's really explore Frank White. And in trying to make him so cool and detached from some things, you never invite us into any of his interiority, like anything that's going on inside of him. And this time around, I found myself saying, well, then you just lost me. And as far as whether or not it's a black film, I'm just seeing you use black bodies in this movie to prop up this BS story that you've got. So no, I don't think it's a black film. I don't necessarily think it's a good film. I recognize this cult status, and God bless this cult status, but I think this is another film, to me, like Superfly, that has this cult status on his reputation and not actually what it's up on the screen.
Interesting. Because you do wonder. We'll have a couple of questions. You do wonder how many people have actually seen this. Of course, Lynn, you go down that road. The older I get, the more I have that question about so many of these films.
Well, that's true, which is why you have to keep them in the context of the time.
No. I'm talking about reputation versus what's actually on the screen.
Okay.
And I do agree with you, frankly, because I think at this point about damn near 90% of these movies that more people know about this film, or even references to, as you mentioned, Notorious B.I.G. would use Frank White as one of his hip hop aliases.
They seen a Schoolie D video.
Than have ever actually seen this film. So there's that. And then, I do have to, even if you've seen the film, and I'm guilty of this, I think part of it has always been, it's just neat seeing just the preponderance of actors.
Just seeing those faces
that you like. Yeah. Like again, it's like all of these characters, Harold Perrineau,
I know,
is in here for a couple of scenes. I joked last week, but it really is true. Almost one half of the cast of School Days is in this film. But then the other thing I was thinking about, do you have to have a redeeming character in a film for you to have, does there have to be someone with some type of moral compass for a film to hook you?
I think it maybe not necessarily a redeeming character, but there has to be some point where you're, to me anyway, in some way I'm at least relating to the character at what the character is going through. I may not 100. I may not ride with it. It may be preposterous,
But you have to relate to it.
I gotta at least care a little bit about what you're doing. Otherwise, I'm just sitting there watching images. And as cool as Abel Ferreira is as a director, and some of the settings, especially you mentioned filmed at night, filmed sometimes in the rain and alleys. There are some really great shots in this film. But I just don't care.
You just don't care.
I don't care about anything that's going on. It a little bit, because you see, like I said, Wesley Snipes' character with his wife and his kids at a cop wedding, and you kind of see him seem like a good guy.
But see, that's what I mean, though. Like, I feel like, obviously, morally, the police are morally on the right side, even with them breaking the law and going, and and I do think it is significant that the big set piece with the police is at a wedding. Mm-hmm. And as you said, you see these men as brothers in arms. You see them at a wedding. You see at least Wesley Snipes as a father and a husband. Mm-hmm. They're at the wedding of their partner, and so that I think morally there's no question that the police are on the right side. But I felt like the film identified more with Frank White and his crew.
No, they did.
Which, for you to keep going back to Tommy Flanagan, Wesley Snipes' character, Tommy Flanagan, as his father and husband and this, that, and the other, I feel like that read is counterintuitive to what Abel Ferreira, I want to call him Abe Vigoda, Abel Ferreira set out to do. And I guess what I'm trying to get to is, what is the failure of the film that it didn't steer you the way I think the film wanted to steer? Because clearly they want you to think that Frank White and his crew are cooler than cool,
But that's it. That's all they want you to. He doesn't want you to think anything more about him.
But that's not enough for you to relate or to be on Frank White's side.
No, especially not if in the middle of the movie he's telling me I want to get these millions for this hospital.
Okay, all right. So like Reservoir Dogs, of course. The missionary has me feeling all self-conscious about spoiling a film. But Reservoir Dogs has a character who ends up being clearly a moral center. Mm-hmm. So let's do Goodfellas.
Okay.
No one is good in Goodfellas. Do you relate to any of them at all?
Relate to them... Maybe not necessarily relate, but I'm on the ride with Henry,
right,
in Goodfellas.
Right, he's our point of view character.
He's our point of view.
Yeah.
And because I'm on this ride with Henry, and he is showing us both sides of his coin, I'm curious as to which way he's going. Which way and where he's going to land, mm-hmm. Right? There is a mystery. I want to know, where is this going. With Frank, I don't care because I'm not shown anything.
And you don't know Frank because there is this detachment, like you said.
It's total detachment. So
yeah.
He's too cool to let us in. So I don't even care that you want to do for the. Okay, you say you want to get this money for the hospital. Why? This came to you while you were in prison. Why? We're never told. We're never even given any type of reason.
No, you're right.
If we even only see him as in one scene in Goodfellas, for all the stuff that Henry does, Henry still has a relationship with his brother who is crippled.
Yes.
Right? That little bit still like humanizes him a little bit.
Right.
There's nothing humanizing about Frank White at all.
It's all sheen.
It's all sheen. Because even when he's saying it's about a hospital, you figure there's an angle here as well.
Right.
Because you're never given the other side of his coin.
Right.
So I don't care.
Right.
And you're not showing the other side of anybody else's coin, except, curiously, the only person is Wesley Snipes' character.
Right.
And I say other side because you're given the idea that he seems to be this, like, good family guy, yet he is one of the cops that goes way over the top.
Right.
Gladly so.
Right.
He is one of the cops that takes Frank right off the street and throws him in the cop car basically for no reason.
Yeah.
And when he's a free man.
Yeah.
And the first one to lay hands on him. So you're seeing both sides of his coin a little bit, not much, because he's not supposed to be our vocal point. He's not the star of the film, but enough. And it's interesting that you see both sides of him, and Wesley Snipes then goes on the next year to do New Jack City.
Yeah. Well, again, let's be clear. If I recommend this film, it really is as a historical document. Because so many of these actors, you can, like they're on the launch pad.
Yeah, but again, you're saying historical document. That's like saying Jackie Chan recommending Enter the Dragon because Jackie Chan blink is in one scene of the movie.
No, it's not the same. I mean, they're in this more than Jackie Chan.
Okay, but they're not.
Dragon.
But they're not really doing anything. If any of them performance that you maybe are pulling something from just for the hilarity of it. The joke of it is Lawrence Fishburne as Jumpin' Jim, because Wesley Snipes is basically playing just a straight cop. Giancarlo Esposito is just the guy carrying the bag.
Yeah,
you really
I actually think Wesley Snipes' performance is more than just a cop.
Okay, fair.
As you said, I think you absolutely see. Well, he's on a launch pad.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think there are other films that show him, that do him even in around this time.
I don't know if there are. What are they?
Well, I mean, the following, just the next year, which is still set in this same kind of world.
Yeah,
it's set in this world.
Yeah,
it's New Jack City.
Yeah, but New Jack City, he's a complete package.
I mean, okay.
Right? Like New Jack City, really, it really is pre-New Jack City Mo Better Blues. Post New Jack City Mo Better Blues.
I still don't think you're missing anything if in the Wesley Snipes milieu if you don't see King of New York.
And I like David Caruso.
Who cares about David Caruso?
I think David Caruso, before he
blew up his career.
I was about to say start reading his own press releases.
Yeah.
But I think he was the real deal.
No, he's talented, but he's not doing anything that great in this movie.
I think he's good.
He's maybe given one good, halfway decent scene, and that's the scene where spoiler alert, Wesley Snipes dies.
Yeah, that's a good scene. Yeah.
Is it a black film?
No, it's definitely not a black film.
Okay, so we're landing on that.
Yeah, it's definitely not a black film. Again, I think, I think part of the reason it has a place in the culture, speaking of Biggie and Frank White, of these kind of films that hip hop culture has adopted, Scarface, Goodfellas, I think it's the only one with some black people in it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think that kind of spoke, I think that resonated. And again, of the cool white guy with black subordinates, this is probably the best one I've seen. Like I said, I believe this character with these people around him. and I very rarely believe
Yeah.
this character.
Yeah.
So, for that, I understand why it resonated enough that, again, you and I have had this conversation a lot with people about
King of New York.
about King of New York being a black film.
Would you recommend it?
I don't know if I would. Because I don't know if you need to see.
You just said it's a historical document.
It's a historical document, but
David Caruso. Gotta see it. Your words.
to use some of your language, I think this is a film that the attributes work even if you see it in chunks. So like there's maybe the most famous scene from the film is when Frank White gets home. And Christopher Walken has this wonderful little dance moment and everybody's in the room with him. Like, I think if you watch that scene, I don't know how much
More you need to see.
more you need to see. Like, okay, you need to know about, like, like Wesley Snipes isn't in that scene. But and then it's so stylized and cool, but frankly, Michael Mann is doing a similar thing. Like is this is 1990, so Miami Vice is off by now. But Michael Mann was doing a similar sort of thing cinematically,
Yep.
and he does it better.
Oh yeah.
So even if I wanted to argue it from that perspective, like just the cool scenes and everything, it's like, yeah, but man, what's my Michael Mann movie?
What, Collateral?
No, early Michael Mann, 80s, like before Heat. What was my Michael Mann movie? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's the Michael Mann movie that kind of, frankly, it kind of spills over into Miami Vice. What is the Michael Mann movie?
Oh, I'm looking it up. Give me a moment. You can look in the chat and
It's
see if anybody
like Andy Garcia in it.
mentions it.
What is the Michael Mann movie that I'm thinking of that is so good from this moment?
Well, I know you're not thinking about Thief. I mean, before
What's before Heat?
Thief, The Keep, Manhunter,
Manhunter.
Land of the
I'm pretty sure it's Manhunter.
Last of the Manhunter. Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Manhunter.
With William Peterson.
Yeah. Pretty sure it's Manhunter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the movie isn't that the movie that introduces
Pretty sure it's Manhunter.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Brian Cox.
So,
Okay.
I think I'm going to say no. I wouldn't.
Would not recommend King of New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend King of New York either.
We're going to hear it about this.
Well, we'll hear it. I don't care. Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
They look, people. You're going to continue seeing this as a cult status if you love this film, if this resonates for you. You own the DVD. I watch this every year. God bless. Keep on.
I don't know who's going to say that, though.
Who's going to say it and mean it?
I was about to say, because I do wonder, when is the last time that someone watched? And again, look, I think part of the problem with The King in New York is that other films came out that did this kind of thing better.
They did it better. Yeah.
I
mean, New Jack City is around the corner.
Right.
And I even remembered Member Berry's Schoolie D soundtrack being more present in the film than it actually is.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I love Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
There are other Christopher Walken films to watch. A cool, slick, sly, dancing Christopher Walken.
You're right, though. Like, I keep talking about Goodfellas and Reservoir Dogs, but the problem with this is New Jack City came out.
Right on his heels, and does everything better. Soundtrack, more gripping characters. You know, it's playing both sides of the fence.
What years? New Jack City?
1991.
That's the real problem with the King of New York is that New Jack City came out.
And that's why King of New York has cult status.
Yeah, you called that. I'm so busy focusing on Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah. But,
and kind of, again, like low rent criminals. But yeah.
Yeah, so no, I can't recommend. I agree that it's not a black movie. I can't recommend King of New York.
Okay.
I can't. And I got to be honest, going into this, I didn't think I would. I knew I was going to land on it wasn't a black movie. I wasn't sure I would land on whether or not.
I thought it was going to be a no-brainer.
As far as a recommendation, at least.
Like, I really did. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, you got to watch King of New York, but I was like halfway through. I was like,
Man, don't.
Yeah, all right.
You don't have to watch King of New York. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our review. Before we tell you what dubious black film we are going to be reviewing next week, I invite you to follow the Micheaux Mission on the social media of your choice, whether it be Instagram, X, and or Facebook in our Facebook group at Micheaux Mission. Follow us, subscribe, let us know what's on your mind, especially in the Facebook group where people have a lot of fun talking, and on Instagram where people are having a good time looking at me and Erica Alexander on the prom. Vince was having a ball with that earlier today.
If you'd like to see Lynn's molars.
Hey. If you were hugging Erica Alexander, you look like Pac-Man too, brother. So, look, I don't want to hear from you. But we want to hear from you, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know what's on your mind. You can email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUXMISSION@gmail.com. The Micheaux Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com. They make podcast work, such as ours, which stream live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace right here in Manayunk. And they have beautiful studios all over this building. I think they damn near own the floor here in Manayunk. And you can book your time in those studios right now. Just email Dylan at youngjunk.com. That's DYLAN at youngjunk.com. Gotta punch those K's there.
Yes, that's what I hear.
All right.
All right.
And the Micheaux Mission, after we stream live here, it goes up on our YouTube channel where you can subscribe, hit that bell, and be notified when we're going to go live and when we have our breakout videos going up there. We have our shorts going up. We have the 6 Degrees of Derville Martin. We have Top 5. We have a whole bunch of fun videos, more and more going up every week on the Micheaux Mission on YouTube. So subscribe and ring that bell. Let us get our numbers up there. All right. Next week, we are asking a question: is this a black film? And I don't know about this one. From 1995, John Travolta. Yes, the star of every man's favorite black film. And Harry Belafonte.
Speaking of.
They are saddled with White Man's Burden.
Have you ever seen this?
I saw it when it came out. I haven't seen it since.
I've never seen this.
You've never seen. You've known of it.
Oh, I know about it.
I saw it when it came out. I saw it in the movie theaters when it came out. 1995. I'm 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I am watching this film, and I'm like, This is a thing. I don't know how I feel about that. And I'm looking around the theater, and everybody's got the same look on their face. Like, what? What did we just watch?
See, when you were in the theater, I was walking past the poster outside, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm not doing that."
But it would. I mean, it's an interesting thought experiment.
Well,
We'll see.
we'll see.
Next week here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting we say,
We'll see you when it's time to meet again.